Hi there, my name's Joy, and today I would like to explore how to unlock hidden potential. So, there's actually multiple ways, but I'm just going to tell you about my favorite. That's not actually accurate. I believe I have two favorites. You know what? I'm going to just go ahead and talk about both of them right now. Okay, so the first way is to do inner healing work. So, what does it look like inside our psyches? We essentially have a bunch of different parts of us, and they're like sub personalities. Like, have you ever heard somebody talk about, like, part of me feels angry, part of me feels sad, part of me just wants to be done with the whole thing and like go out dancing or whatever? So, uh, we actually have some pretty distinct parts of us that do have different agendas and behavioral patterns and beliefs and concerns and goals and desires and needs. And these different parts of us are interactive, like they have relationships with each other within us. So it's a system, it's all interconnected. And if you change one thing, then there's changes in other places in the system too. And I recorded a video about IFS. It stands for Internal Family Systems, and it's basically just a model for how to understand and interact with these different parts of us. Now you can do IFS to do your own like inner healing work. You can also see like an IFS practitioner, or you can use any other method really for inner healing work, and what I'm about to say will still apply. So what happens when parts of us take on burdens? So a burden is like a limiting belief, a job that they feel that they need to do to protect you, an emotion from a situation that you were not in a position to process yet. So you didn't, it just like stayed with you, stayed inside you. That's still there, even if you're like not usually aware that it's there. It's still there. It might be, sorry, it might be buried very deep, but it is still there. And it's with a part that's carrying it and is like in hiding or locked away by other parts because they think something bad is going to happen if if that part with the really difficult emotion were to come forward and like be present at the surface. So it's scary for whatever reason, so it's just locked away. And that's a very important survival skill in life. When we repress things, it keeps us alive. Like we all repress some stuff, at least some people a lot more than others, but repression is just an important survival skill for a human being. So, like, I mean, even like the most basic thing, like let's say something tough happens at work and, we're angry about it and we're sad about it. Like processing it right there in that moment might not be the wisest thing to do. We need to wait until we're at home alone, and then we're in a position to bring that back up and process it. So even if it's just repressing it until like the end of the day or whatever, still a certain amount of repression is natural and healthy and important. So these burdens that these different parts of us carry, sometimes it's like repressed emotions, or emotions are energy. So it's like an energy that we're carrying around with us in our nervous system all of the time, wherever we go, whatever we do, and it does have an impact on us. And what these parts do, if they're not carrying burdens, is play. The different ones have different roles that they take on. Like there's a part of me that like speaks for my body and like tells me what I need. I'm trying to think of other examples. I don't think coming up with lots of examples is particularly important, but different skills and different like hobbies and talents and like things that you might enjoy are possible with these different parts of us. And in order for those parts to be able to do, you know, whatever it is they are good at or like want to do, they need to like not be carrying this burden that's taking up all of their energy and focus in order to deal with, or, you know, whatever it is they're doing with it. So anytime we can unburden ourselves by like healing something from the past, by, you know, releasing some energy that was trapped in our nervous system, by just like taking care of ourselves in a way that, you know, lets the, you know, different parts of us know that we love ourselves, we love those parts, that can be really great for facilitating this kind of thing. All that stuff, all of that goes a long way towards allowing parts to release these burdens. And then once they do, they all of a sudden want to play or create. Like I've had parts, I had a part that it was actually a part of a part. So the part was a financial trauma part. And that part had all these other parts. There was like a part that was like, you know, very critical and, you know, kind of like a drill sergeant, like just very demanding and like constantly insulting. There was another part that her name's Fantasia, and she would just keep me distracted. Like, oh, there's financial stress and there's not a whole lot I can do about it right now. Okay, well, there's this fun video game or this like new hobby that I can dive into and learn all about. Or, ooh, a squirrel. I don't actually like squirrels, but you know what I mean? Like she, like my mind would like go off in all these directions and, you know, just keep me distracted from the stress of the, you know, financial situation. And then there was another part who would, like, if I got too close to like the part that was carrying the worst of it, would just shut me down. Like I get very sleepy, like, and like sometimes like not even able to function. So like if I needed to say do my bookkeeping for my business so I could like do my taxes, in a situation like that, this part that would get, well, this part would kind of just like have me like shut down and lose all my energy. Like, oh, I can't function. Well, I guess I'm not doing this today, to keep me away from the extremely overwhelming stress associated with financial things, because I used to have a financial phobia. And then there's another part, Mary, and Mary was the one that Jan and Fantasia were protecting. Not protecting, suppressing. So Mary carried a lot of shame about financial stuff. A lot of like self-blame and like like that the drill sergeant part, like a lot of the criticism, like self-criticism came from that part. And then like the shame of all that self-criticism and the just like unbearable pain, like what is wrong with me, like why am I in this situation, and just like the hopelessness, there's so much hopelessness that this part was carrying. And like basically when a financial situation was overwhelming and hopeless, this part just wanted to die, and the other parts would keep her kind of locked away, because if she came to the surface, wow, suddenly, Joy would be suicidal. And I didn't like, I guess like on some level, like I sort of knew that there was this like thought that would appear once in a while, like, oh, can I just die instead of dealing with this? But like I never really took it too seriously. I didn't know that it was a part of me that was in that much pain, right? So when I met Mary, we talked and did our like parts work and unburdening. So once she released her burden, then I said, I feel like I'm kind of like skimming over this a little bit too much, given like how much attention I put into explaining like how bad it was. But with Mary, like I needed to tell her that I love you no matter what, and that I'm going to take care of you, and that I'm not mad at you, I'm not blaming you, and life will take care of us. And if there's a situation that's just like impossible financially in the future, like if that were to ever happen again, I'm going to be with you through it. You're not alone. I'm going to take care of you no matter what, and I love you. So she needed to hear all that. And when she released that energy and that burden that she was carrying, I said, Mary, what do you want to do now? And she said, paint. I want to paint. And I said, that is wonderful. All right, I am going to get you some paints and you can paint. I'm actually going to go grab the very first painting that Mary ever painted. I'll be right back. Oh, I like thought I hit pause. Okay, I'm hitting pause for real now. Okay, here it is. The name of this painting is Dragon's Breath. And you can't really see it properly in this lighting because like purple doesn't really come through on camera very well for some reason. So there's some depth to the colors, like, like a purple red, like through here, that just does not come through properly, but what are you gonna do? So this is the painting, and I just love it so much. So I didn't paint really before this. Like I used to think that I had no artistic talent whatsoever. And like I would even joke about it, like, everybody's got strengths and weaknesses. Me, I'm not very artistic. So what happened was, once Mary said, I want to paint, I was like, okay, you got it, like anything. Like you can paint if you want to paint, or I shouldn't say like anything, like, but yeah, you can paint if you want to paint. And then, I got the paints, got them set up, and then I just watched my hand move itself. I'm sitting there, I have no idea what's going to happen. Oh, we're using this color, cool. I'm like watching it like a spectator. And then this was born of that. So this is just one example of potential being unlocked because I processed some trauma. That is one way to unlock potential. In parts, they're not always artistic in nature. Like a lot of them are. certainly not all of them. Some of them are just really good advisors, like once they're unburdened. Our unconscious minds do at least 1,000,000 times more processing per second than our conscious minds. So, you know, we've got all this stuff going on all the time, and we get like tiniest little fraction of it consciously. And our unconscious minds like do all these calculations, and all this processing. And some people don't have much access to that at all. Some of them only do through their like intuition. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called, I guess I could put my painting down. Oh, I don't want to put it down. I love this painting. There's a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Blank that is basically about this. He compares the unconscious mind to a supercomputer behind a locked door. And basically the idea is that it does all these amazing calculations, and then spits out the answer from underneath the door, and the door is locked. You can't get at the supercomputer. You can never know how it came up with that conclusion. But if you are willing to, you know, go with the answer that comes out from under the door, it can be kind of a superpower. You know, you're tapping into the power of your unconscious mind, and that's huge. So that's what that book is about. But IFS is like this way to access the supercomputer and like interact with it and reprogram it. Like, I feel like I need to explain that a little bit better, because, all right, so when I say reprogram it, I'm not talking about affirmations. I'm not talking about like part of you being like, oh, this is a good thing, I need to do this, so I'm going to find this other part of me that doesn't want to do it and like force it to do it, or I'm going to like lock it up so it can't like mess with me anymore, so I can do this thing. Like, that's how parts interact with each other. So anytime we're really willful about doing something, like we have a definitive agenda and we're like going to make ourselves do it, or like, you know, force life to go a certain way, try to control ourselves, like any of that stuff, that is all parts interacting with each other. And IFS calls it being blended. Like, if you're blended with a part, then you can identify with that part. Like, you think it's you that's doing those things. So like if a part is at the surface and, you know, the one like at the control panel, like, you know, in your like conscious thought and like your actions, then you are blended with that part. I do feel the need to go off on like a tiny little tangent. Most of our actions are actually unconscious decisions, and then like we consciously are kind of like, I meant to do that, and we might even like have this illusion that we like, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about the study that they did. So they like were able to, at this point in time, or when at the point in time in the study, like map, you know, put like sensors on people's heads and like map parts of the brain, and like you know, actually it might have been like with image, like a different type of imaging. It might not have been with sensors. I don't actually know. I guess I made that up. So anyways, they have imaging that shows the decision-making part of the brain, and then like the parts of the brain that like do other things, right? And then they can measure like when that decision-making part of the brain lights up, like when you're like deciding to do something, and timing wise, it actually lights up after you take the action. So your unconscious mind is moving your body around, and then you perceive that you consciously made the decision to do that thing, and it's an illusion. You like your conscious mind is just all like, I meant to do that, like all the time. Except not all the time, but like that we have this illusion that we are controlling our bodies, and we're really not. It's unconscious. So backing off of that tangent, this is one of the reasons, but I guess building on it, this is one of the reasons why doing this kind of inner healing work, where we're making unconscious parts of our mind conscious, and then unburdening them, and supporting them, meeting their needs, loving them. All these parts of us, they really need our love. Like that, they need that. And it's like unconditional love. It's like spiritual, like universal love, the kind that comes through us, not just like parts getting attached kind of love. So having access to parts means having access to some really freaking bright advisors. How awesome is that? And it's not like I do whatever my parts tell me to do. Like, I always do what feels right, but I just love hearing what they have to say. And, they have some really, really good points. Like, even if they're not unburdened, like parts always have some really, really good points, I find. Parts are just awesome. I love my parts so much. I love all parts so much, really. It's just the coolest thing. So that is one way to unlock potential. Get rid of the stuff that's in the way. And then these parts of you that they were there like since you were born, and when they took on these burdens, it caused them to kind of like stop, or at least slow down the maturing and developing process. So some of them are like little babies, some of them are like little kids. It just depends like how old they were when they took on that burden. So you can start to really like mature a lot more as parts are unburdened. And also whatever talents and skills and gifts and insights that part might have had, it's not doing that well, not so much at least, while it's worried about this burden. So when you relieve that burden, it can now do that thing more effectively. And that's one of the ways you can unlock potential: processing trauma, releasing burdens. How cool. Okay, so then the other way, I was gonna say that was like my favorite way, but this other way is so cool too. I really just can't decide. This other way is by connecting to the universe, or to the collective unconscious, by connecting to something larger than yourself and letting it live through you. So now you don't just get access to the million times more processing per second supercomputer inside you, or, well, I'm not entirely sure that it exists inside of us. That is a very different philosophical conversation that I'm not going to get into now. But wherever it lives in us, around us, whatever, we don't just get access to that, we get access to everybody's that like ever existed. In a way, like if we're accessing the collective unconscious and if we're tapping into divine consciousness, the universal mind, we're not just limited to earth. Like, I don't have words for it. Wow, I'd like I'm overcome with awe. Um, just having that moment of where I'm experiencing that. All right, so amazing. How cool is that? The amount of access that we have to our system, our parts, our supercomputer, that feels a little bit too like impersonal, the supercomputer thing. Like now that I like know so many of my parts, um, it's like there's a real warmth um, that the supercomputer concept doesn't really convey. But regardless of what you want to call it, I like to call them my inner family. There's that, and you know, in order to access that, you need to be able to access self. So I'm talking about like your true core self, which means that like the parts that you're blended with need to be comfortable enough to step aside or unburdened enough to like not take over the control panel, because while they don't feel safe, they're going to take over the control panel. That's what they do. Like it's imperative in their minds to protect you. They will do anything to protect you, and they work so hard. They really try their best. They're amazing and they're brilliant and just absolutely wonderful. So these parts, if they trust you enough, um, they'll step aside so that you can interact with other parts or interact with other people's parts or just do, you know, whatever. And then if you get blended, like, you know, something um, like brings up a concern related to a burden that another part is carrying, you know, when that comes up and you get blended, then um, being able to recognize that you're blended can be a challenge if you're always blended, right? That like it's just normal, you don't know. But the more time you spend just present in self, the more you're going to be able to um, like flow with, you know, have that awareness of the fact that a part is like, you know, taking over. And once you have that awareness, then you're usually in a position, often in a position to interact with that part then. And if you're not, then, you know, if there's somebody in your life who is capable of being present, like truly present with you, then like that can be an incredibly healing thing. So um, like this is why it can be so powerful to work with somebody, whether it's like an IFS informed therapist, an IFS certified practitioner. I actually offer IFS informed self leadership facilitation sessions, which you know, basically I have a capacity to be very present with people and to just really be there and bring that compassion and that self presence. And when you're in the presence of someone who's present, it can be this just incredibly powerful pathway to being able to be present yourself. And that's a pretty valuable thing for somebody who has a hard time doing that on their own. So if you're able to do that in the presence of someone who's present, someone with strong access to self, then you can start to do your own inner healing work, talk to your parts and have some unburdenings yourself, like do your um, do your own parts work, but with the facilitation of somebody who has the ability to bring that presence and that compassion and that patience and that calmness and all of those other things that are self qualities. When you are in the position to do that, then your parts start to trust you enough to allow you to access different parts of your system that you didn't have access to before, and trust you enough to go ahead and let you take care of whatever it was they thought they needed to do to protect you. Like, oh, sweetie, you don't need to do that anymore. I'll take care of it. You, like, you can do something else. Like, what would you rather do instead? Like, whatever you thought you needed to do to protect me, like, I'm safe now, and I'm like a grown adult, and like I can take care of this. You don't need to do it by yourself. And a lot of times they just need to hear that, and then they're happy to release their burden. And self does have a very a great deal of wisdom about like how to take care of whatever area of responsibility that part had been trying to do alone before. So there's this increased wisdom that comes into daily life. And I mean, that's another form of unlocking potential, just being in self and being self-led. And what I was starting to say is that both of these things, whether you are like accessing your own system and like acting from self, which that in itself is just so beautiful. It's magical. It's great. Um, doing that, like in order to do that, you need to be present. So that means that parts aren't running the show and like at the control panel and like blended. And the other thing, tapping into the collective or the universal mind, same thing. In order to do that, you need to be able to have your parts like not like blended, not at the control panel. You need to like let go and just let it come to you. Whether that means it's coming up through you or coming to you from the outside, because if you're the universe, and if you're tapping into the universal mind, there actually isn't really like inside me and outside me. It's like everything, right? So if you're really tapping into the universal mind, you don't necessarily have to do things yourself in order to have them taken care of. Like the universe is one thing, another part of the universe could come forward and take care of it, so there's a capacity for some really powerful yin, receptiveness, where you don't have to do everything yourself, because like events will just kind of like magically unfold to like take care of the situation. And that's really beautiful and amazing too. Okay, I'm going to stop gushing and wrap up this video. Thank you for watching, and let me know what you think. and any experiences that you've had where you processed some trauma or released a burden, and then all of a sudden found that you can dance now, or that was another thing that actually happened to me. Or you suddenly discovered that you have a love for horseback riding, and like now that's your new hobby and you do that sometimes. Or whatever it is, now you like you used to not be able to do your bookkeeping for your business so you can do your taxes, but now you can do that and it's not even so bad anymore. Tell me about how you've unlocked your potential. I want to hear about it, how you've um, experienced wonderful things in your life as the result of facing stuff inside you that you weren't ready to face before, but then you did, and now you can do the thing, whatever the thing is. Okay. Thank you very much for watching. And I'm totally repeating myself, and I'm definitely not going to edit this video. That's not a thing that's going to happen. I should really have like a business partner that does that kind of thing for me, because like it's just not going to happen. Or like I can like have these endings like this where I'm rambling. And okay, I'm just going to press stop now. Thank you, everybody.